typically we treat our friends different than we treat a spouse. Hi, everybody. Thank you for joining in on today's episode. We are so glad that you joined us. If you hear any kind of pitter-pattering, don't worry, I'm not pregnant again. That is the rain falling down
Yeah,
on
that is not
the roof.
footsteps
That is not
inside
footsteps.
your peritoneal cavity.
No. It has been very, very wet. Jeff and I were just having a wonderful conversation about getting from zero to hero, going from having no-figure sales deals to 8-figure. He's producing a course. It's going to be available soon. You can check it out on the LinkedIn. You can get more information on Jeff Heilman's LinkedIn profile when you go to LinkedIn. And we were just talking about how in order to overcome his early on potentially what could have been looked at as a deficit, not having a college degree, not having the networking,
Some might say.
He ended up taking oftentimes startup companies as well as the positions that were not the most popular, like inside sales. And so through doing these jobs, he's actually gained this tremendous amount of experience, this desire in order to overcome all odds, and in that passion for being successful and being able to be recognized for something other than just the kid that didn't have the degree or just that guy that's resume doesn't look full. He actually used his ability to perform to his advantage and is now going to be able to offer that as a course offering for you and for those
and personally,
that come along.
I don't see not having a college degree I see it as an advantage.
I agree. And in today's economy, even if you did...
Other people may not have seen it as an advantage, but the fact that nobody thought I could do the work
Absolutely.
was a huge advantage because nobody was expecting me to do anything.
Absolutely.
So then for me to come in and do, 5x or 10x of what anybody else was doing when they were expecting me to do half an X.
Yeah. And I think that the fact that you're
great.
coming out with a course on landing 8-figure deals and what you've learned in order to get 8-figure deals and 9-figure, I think that that's going to stand out because so many of today's employees or today's marketing, engineering, even sales persons all have these degrees, and because the degree has become white noise, the resumes are very padded with good colleges and lots of networking, and so what they need is they're gonna need to be able to sell the 8-figure deals in order to stand up, in order to stand out.
Yeah, and I was really, really fortunate to have a myriad of sales managers. I think I've had 45 or 50 sales managers in software, not including, another 30 outside of software, but just in software sales, I've had about 50 managers. And there was a guy, I think I've talked about him before on the podcast. There was a guy named Justin Sheen who was an animal. I mean, this guy, I would be in the office at 6 in the morning till 6 at night, and he would be there an hour before me and an hour after me and weekends. Now, he had no kids at the time, and he wasn't married when I first met him. So for him to be in the office like 16 hours a day, I was just like, what the heck? Like, I couldn't physically
How do you
work.
even find that much work to
do? I couldn't physically work that many hours. Plus, he was like 12 minutes from the office. Yeah. And I was like an hour.
Yeah.
2 hours in the afternoon and 1 hour in the morning because of traffic. But I got to see what it looked like for a guy to literally work 100-hour weeks in front of me. And Elon worked. Same. I mean, 100, 110 hours every single week. If I was in the office 12 hours a day, he'd be like, you go home at night? Like, why would you do that? Mm-hmm. Because there's work to be done at night, too. And sleeping is for people that are retired or dead. And it was literally just an asinine thought that people would have downtime. And it just embedded between Rohit and Justin and Elon and being around other guys in startups at that time. But really, nobody poured in the hours like Rohit and Justin did. It set a precedent of like, you're either serious about being successful in business or you're just looking for a job. And if you're just looking for a job, that's fine, but you probably won't make it at a startup. If you're at a startup, startups are for winners, right? And not all startups win. But if you want to win, you go to a startup.
For me, as an outsider looking in at what the things that you seem to naturally become inclined to, I see the natural inclination for you to want to work and to consistently want to work and to find things to do to work at. But if you feel that that is something for yourself that you've had to learn,
I feel like I had to learn it. Yeah.
You've got us all fooled, babe. Because ever since I've ever known you, you've had 2-3 jobs going or a side hustle or something going. I guess my point is startup world, being able to give you these tools in order to now share with others these courses, it just seems to be perfectly in line. And I'm so glad that you have the mentors now. You've been taking the courses, and then there's these other platforms like Kajabi. I watch the YouTubes with the kids, and they're oftentimes like Skillshare. They're advertising for these extra, learning tools in order to help people. And I think that there's nothing higher.
Hey, it's Andrew here. Though I'm the editor of this podcast, I'm now the new editor for my church's podcast, Ask Adam, where my pastor, Adam Burnell, and co-host, Jessica Heilman, my mom, discuss religion, history, and theology through questions from the church. It would mean a lot if you'd give it a listen if you're interested. The link is in the description. Enjoy the rest of the show.
Speaking of helping people, today's episode, it is February. I don't know if you're watching. If you're watching online via YouTube, I know we have some people that watch via just the platform. They don't listen to the audio. We have some that listen to the audio and don't watch the video, but we have a plant. We have added a plant. So for today's episode,
what's the name? It needs a name.
It needs a name.
Pinky.
Pinky? It's not even pink. Okay, maybe by the end of the episode, we'll have a name for that plant. But
writers, we need comments. Name the fake orchid.
How about y'all name this plant? Because evidently this plant that is funny. Do you? Here's a question to those that are watching. Do you name inanimate objects? Because in this house we tend to name.
We do.
We had, let's see, for a long time, and Andrew will remember this, I'm sure, we had this bin that we would put the dishes in, and it was called the white bin. It was we named it.
Did you name the?
It was the white bin. There's some others that it's just funny that I don't. They're usually like on the nose.
What's the raccoon
names.
Puppet that Nessie plays with?
Oh, she named that Cutesy. That's new.
Cutesy. Okay.
Although she did have a baby doll that she named Baby Bomb once. I just had to make sure she rephrased it. Like, did you just say bomb? B-O-M-B?
Baby Bomb.
She's since renamed Baby Bomb. But let's see. We've named every single car that we have ever owned.
Baby Bomb.
We've named every single car that we've ever owned. And so now you all that are watching get to name our plant. So put in the comment what we should name the plant. Let's see. Currently, my car's name is Peggy. I drive a Jeep Wrangler, and it's green. It's Sarge green, and she's named
green like Peggy Carter.
So the car is actually
Jessica has a thing for
Captain American. No, the car is Captain America's car. And I was thinking, well, if I was Captain America and this was my car, what would I name my car as Captain America? And of course, Captain America would name his car Peggy.
Yeah.
So then I need to get a gladiator, and I want to name the gladiator, Steve Rogers. But whatever, anyways. And then I named your car Happy because it's a Mercedes, and Happy from Iron Man. Happy Hogan is the chauffeur, and it's like you're being.
Is that his last name? Is Hogan?
Yeah, he ends up becoming a superhero later, but that's beyond the point.
What?
Yes, Happy Hogan.
Is that a thing?
Yes.
Dude, Endgame. I'm so over it.
Okay, it is Valentine's month. It is the month of love. Saint Valentine was an actual indeed person who spread love and was kind, and thus we get Saint Valentine's Day. And so we thought that for this episode that we would share a little bit about I think that we could just talk about maybe. I was thinking, since I've been thinking so much about Grandma and Grandpa recently and the fact that they were married for 69 years. I think this would have been their 69th. I was, their story was really sweet. He was, she was She was, I believe, 18, going on 19. He saw her for the first time riding barefoot on a donkey, and he was like, that's my woman right there.
That's my woman
That's
right
my
there.
woman right there. And they stayed married, and they stayed together for 69 years, and just always been such a impactful relationship for us to be able to look at. I mean, she practiced religion. He didn't. She stayed home. He worked full time. They raised children together. They were just always they made a point of, going away on family vacation every summer Grandpa would get his corporate 2 weeks off and would take it and spend it with the family. They had dinner at the table every night, 6 p.m., have dinner Monday through Friday, and made sure that on the weekends that they didn't work, but worked around the house or, did that kinds of stuff. So it was pretty much the growing up quintessential all-American family marriage relationship that actually ended up sticking and staying put. I remember there was a story about something to do with your granddad riding a horse in the house or something like that.
There was a house that my grandfather used to clean in Albuquerque, and my grandmother used to ride her horse into the house and do like barrel racing or something in it. And he'd be like, "Who keeps messing up this house?"
He didn't know that it was his.
It would soon be his wife.
His wife.
Yeah,
He
but they
didn't know
didn't find that out until later. They didn't find it until after they were married. They're like, "Yeah, I remember I used to clean out this house," and she's like, "You were the one that was putting my hay bales away instead of leaving them out where I left them so I could do my barrel racing or something." But it was in a house.
That's so funny.
He kept getting paid to clean the barn or clean the house, and she kept going and messing it up. So I saw, when your parents get older, they have so many pictures. It's so great. My mom, when I was in Albuquerque time before last, my mom pulled out all these photo albums of pictures of her when she was a little kid and of my grandparents when they were little kids all the way up until the time they were first married. And I got a chance to see some photos of my own family that I had never seen before that my mom had kept curated like a librarian. It was awesome. My grandmother, Mavis Schnur, is her birth name. She's still alive. She's 89. She lives in Albuquerque. Shout out to great grandma for my kids, great grandma Mavis. She was a debutante. Her name and photograph and a little paragraph about her were in the main Albuquerque newspaper in town when she was in high school as a debutante in a coming out ball. And that side of the family was fairly well-to-do in that they had moved from Wisconsin when she was probably 3 or 4 years old because her brother had tuberculosis. And in those days, the cure for tuberculosis was you moved to Albuquerque.
Warm weather.
Dry desert air was the only known cure for tuberculosis before penicillin. And so they set up shop in Albuquerque in my grandma was 38, so that would have been the 40s, early 40s, middle of the Depression. My great-great-grandfather was at the Morgenroth. Two greats. Carl's dad.
Yeah, I think so.
Carl's dad moved them down and started working in the gas business, in the gas station business, which, we're talking, it was booming.
Yeah.
It's on
Standard
Route 66
Oil,
and
Sinclair, Getty, right?
Yeah, Getty was
oil.
that was Getty during that period. And so these guys set up shop and they started working in the gas business. There was profit in it back then. Then they started getting trucks. And they started leasing trucks, they started buying trucks, and they started getting more gas stations. And they had the Ralston Oil Company was sold, and I want to say 1955 or 1960, somewhere in there. And my great-grandmother retired, and she just traveled the world and volunteered at the museum and sat on boards and stuff, and didn't do much for the next 40 years other than volunteer and raise her kids and raise us grandkids and great-grandkids. But they were kind of a big fish in a tiny pond of Albuquerque. So
You were talking about
I
the
got to see
picture
some
that you got to
pictures
see. Yeah.
that my great grandma was, kind of from an upper class family in that town at that time. Back when Albuquerque had, 60,000 people, 80,000
Yeah,
people. I
right.
mean, it's not like it was a boom town, but yeah, the whole concept of family and doing things like we're all gonna be dead someday. I mean, it'll be boom, over. And before we go, I would hope that we'd be able to have a kick-ass time, that our kids would be able to see mom and dad like really enjoying themselves, drinking, playing cards, going to the movies, having a great meal, enjoying the life that we have. And that's what my grandparents did. That's kind of the legacy that they left me, was they worked really, really hard, but they also had an incredible wealth of global travel and art curation and
And it doesn't
volunteering
hurt
on
that your
boards.
grandfather was able to recognize that was, as you said, he didn't. Well, if it's not apparent, obviously, if he's cleaning your grandmother's house, that he didn't come from money. And
No.
part of him not coming
He
from
came
money
from- didn't
built
have any
and
money.
fostered within him the desire to travel and to become a commercial airplane pilot, and be able to go and
That's right.
and become a pilot for American Airlines and travel and do those things. And so it's amazing to see, just as we were talking about earlier, to kind of tie it into the courses that you've been creating out of your own experience. I was just reading this week from Norman Vincent Peale's book, So You Can If You Think You Can.
Yeah, so good.
And he was talking about how there's that first section in the beginning about problems, and how the answer to solving the problem is typically found within the problem. Like, you don't need to go very far away from the problem
Yeah.
in order to find the solution, in order to
right.
solve the problem. And part of potentially the problem that you've had in the past was like, what's my software company? What's my exit strategy? What's my thing? And what I'm seeing is that you've got the voice for it. You've got the education for it. You've got the tools for it. You've created the resources for it in order to create courses, in order to speak, teach, consult, whatever, however you want to be able to create and curate, being able to take the transfer of knowledge that you've learned and then now be able to offer it to the public. And
Yeah,
just like your granddad taking, his desire to travel and to have a wealth of knowledge and experiences, going and translating that into becoming an airplane pilot, being able to see the world, being able to take his family around and offer them
Yeah.
a level of lifestyle that his wife, the debutante, would happily want to become a part of and share in. And so that is to me, at least, that's love. That's being able
Yeah.
to have joy. That's being able to have fun. That's being able to do those things, and to be able to hopefully find the work that you love to do. Find the thing that you enjoy doing. What is it that Creflo always says? He says that start by looking at what you would do for free. If it's something that you would happily give away, or something
Yeah.
that you would happily spend your whole day doing, if you can find a career, make a career, if you can think of a way that you can do that thing most of the time, then that's a really good start. That's a really
Yeah,
good
I'd
start.
agree. I'd agree.
So for those of you who are new to our story, welcome. We are in season 2. We are talking about love. The way Jeff and I met, the last episode, we talked about being on high school. I was on the marching band. He was on the football team. And we crossed paths,
That's right.
and we didn't see each other. But
Kansas City.
we both grew up in Cupertino, California. We both had pretty much the same neighbors. You were on one side of Stevens Creek. I was on the
You were
other.
on the rich side of Cupertino.
Well, I don't know that, it was interesting. I went down memory lane today, and I drove by. I went through all old Cupertino. I drove by my grandma's house, which used to be by Valco. Valco's no longer there. Drove by grandma's house. I drove by the house that I lived at when I was in junior high school. I drove by the Camardas house, which has been totally it's gone. They
Really?
are building, there's a new modern house coming in place. But it was interesting because I was like, man, we must have lived in a really nice place, because I don't know that within a 20-year, 30-year time period, if you weren't in a nice location, that this much progress would be happening, unless the property values for the whole area have also gone up, because,
Well,
you
yeah.
know,
It's
I mean,
also, a
the fact,
mile away from Apple World headquarters.
yeah, but
And
I guess my point is, like, the 3 houses that I knew growing up the fact that they are all been erased and been built into brand new houses.
yeah,
It was just interesting because, like, I watch HGTV, and there's like Mississippi houses and Arkansas houses, and you'll see a picture of the house from like 1900, and in
right.
like 150 years, the neighborhood and the house has not even changed. And you think, and that to me says, wow, there just must not be not a lot of economy going on. But yet
Right.
we must have been brought up in a very progressive, very desirable location, that the very fact that within a 40-year time period, the entire houses are erased and brand new ones have come up in its place. Like, wow, that's pretty cool. Hey everybody, this is Jessica. I'm so excited to offer to you this new service and this ability that you have to text in your questions, comments. Maybe you have some situations that you'd love for Jeff and Jessica to try to tackle along with you. You can text us now at 203-646-1472. Your phone carrier may have standard rates that apply, it being a text, but this is a free service from us to you, in which we would like to participate with you in an ongoing conversation about how we can help and what we can possibly do for you. Looking forward to hearing from you soon. So Jeff and I grew up here in the Bay Area. We met, I was 19 and he was 21. We met at an ice cream shop in Los Gatos with mutual friends.
That's right.
And within 3 months of our first date, we were married.
Was married.
My grandma made my wedding dress. The church was available. The photographer and the wedding planner, they planned it, and we had a nice 150-person wedding put together in 3 months, and 27 years later, here we are. And I think that the dream is that I married my best friend. And because I can say that I married my best friend, because I know I married my best friend, then being able to have good days, bad days, lots of conversations, intense moments of, hey, how are we going to get from here to there? How are we going to do this? How are we going to do that? Figuring it out from being, having zero in the bank when we first met. I mean, we didn't have a nest egg. There was no egg to
We didn't have a
nest.
nest.
And then being able to, have me stay at home and have 7 children, and being able to grow up through the ranks in corporate America to doing what you're doing now. It has definitely not come without a lot of trial, but being able to laugh at the same jokes, being able to be interested in somewhat of the same things, just because we had so much of a united friendship. We had such a strong friendship that we were able to look at each other and be able to say, it's because I always tell people, you treat your friend. Typically, we treat our friends different than we treat a spouse. Like for some reason, we're a lot harsher. We can be a lot more harsh with our spouse and be a lot more critical. But yet with our best friends, we're like, yeah, you were late. Nah, big deal. Oh, you borrowed money. It's no big. Like you're my buddy. Here, here's a 20. Take a 20. Take a 50. And so if we can just look at our relationship with our spouses more as like, at the end of the day, you're my bud.
Well,
and I love you.
You're my bud too, and I love you too. And we've always had music in the house.
Yeah.
We've always had music. My mom was talking about Getz and Gilberto's Girl from Ipanema, the album, and how that was always on in the house growing up for her, and that was something that her dad had. Yeah, the bossa nova style was something that was very popular in the mid '60s, and it was music that Granddad had
I know.
brought back
Immediately,
from
my brain
Brazil.
like cocktail dress and a martini glass.
Yep.
And
Yep. And my grandfather, captain on a 747 flying back from Brazil, he brought that record back from Brazil for the family, 6 weeks after it came out. And she said that she was still listening to it. And I'm like, I listened to it this morning because Madeline played it while she was getting ready for work and putting her makeup on. We've always had music with our kids, music while we're working, music while we're working out, music while we're cleaning the house, music while we're busy, music while we're driving. And we're always together.
Yeah.
Like, I've been working from home. People talk about COVID. Honestly, COVID didn't do anything to me. It didn't change anything. We were still schooling the kids at home. I was still working from home. The only thing that was good about it, the only thing that changed was actually a benefit to me, was that I didn't have to travel every other week because I'd been on the road for years. I didn't have to travel. I made more money than I'd ever made at any other time. More money consistently, closed more deals, did better business, had a better job, had more fun, took more time off. It was amazing, but nothing really changed for us because we've been schooling the kids at home since 2003. And I don't mean that to be insensitive to those that struggled or lost loved ones during that period, but I feel like the fact that we're always together, the fact that we're as strong as we have been, and that the kids grew up in an environment knowing that they were safe, made it was tested during that time. And it was tested with music, the soundtrack of our family, of bossa nova and jazz and Pete Fountain playing clarinet.
I grew up with music in the family because my dad was a musician, and so was, my mom played piano, and she also liked music. But it's interesting because I have a habit. We get in the car and we put on music. And we always have music in the car, or we always have music going on. If we're not watching something at home, we're listening to music. We clean with music. It's just been the rhythm of the house has been always to have music. And when Natalie came to visit, and I was doing that because I just, you put on a play as soon as you get in the car. And then I have curated playlists, actually. If you go to my, I'm on my Apple iTunes, I'm a playlist girl. I grew up mixing my own mixtapes. Yeah, boy. Do you remember? We were talking about this the other day. Radio, recording off of the radio, waiting for the song to come on the radio and hitting the record.
Be like,
yeah. But I probably have 50 different playlists in my Apple library, and we've got Jeffrey's helped me tremendously with them, but we've got like 40s playlists, 50s playlists, 60s playlists. So I know, depending on who I'm picking up going in the car, I have kind of an idea of what kind of music that person would like to listen to, and so I make sure that my playlist is on. Even for the Jehovah's Witnesses in the family, if they come over during December, I make sure that I have my winter playlist, not Christmas playlist, my winter playlist, which is a bit more challenging, but yet you can find lots of non-holiday winter stuff, holiday winter music, but setting the tone. And if anything, this podcast with the adding the humanities to life and corporate, it's to set a rhythm, it's to set a tone for life. And if we could encourage you, if we can help you in any way, if you find anything that you would like us to talk about, please leave it in the comments, reach out to us, check out Jeff's LinkedIn. We just wanted to talk today a little bit about love, a little bit about relationships, a little bit about as we tune out, as we go into this close in the next 5 minutes, Jeff, when you think of either rom-com or romance, even romantic drama, what movie would you say is your favorite movie? Here's where you live.
Cupcake.
Here's where you live. What movie when it comes to love story or whatever?
I was just watching it the other day. Vicky Cristina Barcelona was super funny. That was super funny.
Is that the name of a movie?
Yeah, Vicky Cristina Barcelona.
Oh.
It's a Woody
Is that a love
Allen
story?
film.
Or love movie? Love?
Not
Is it about
exactly.
love? I don't know.
No, it's a romantic comedy. It's a Woody Allen
Okay.
movie. Then Phantom Thread. That's not real. It's more of a drama. Phantom
Okay.
Thread was
Love.
awesome.
Breathing, guys. Love. No, I'm just kidding.
That was great. I mean,
Yeah.
it's about a guy. If you guys haven't seen Phantom Thread, like I don't have an affiliate link for that. I'm just saying you might want to watch it. It's got an incredible piano score by Jerry Greenwood, I think is the guy's name. And I think it's Daniel Day-Lewis's best film ever, except possibly Lincoln. Although Lincoln's difficult just because
Last of the Mohicans, my dude. That's the Daniel Day-Lewis jam
what did
right
you
there.
think of Phantom Thread?
Never watched
There
it.
you go. So,
Well,
I would
no,
say if you want a really good drama,
And also I have not yet. Don't think I've been able to stay awake during Lincoln, so I can't say. The only Daniel Day-Lewis, wasn't he in My Left Foot too, or something like? Didn't he win an Academy
he's done
Award
a ton
for?
of stuff. He did There Will Be Blood. He did Last of the Mohicans.
He's a great actor.
But he goes so far down the rabbit hole in that he says that it's just not worth it to him to do unless he can have 6 months or a year to recover from it because he becomes somebody else.
Yeah.
And he's got to capture his identity. But if you
Andrew,
haven't
what do they call that? Andrew, that type of acting?
Method
Acting.
Yeah.
Christian Bale,
It's
Matthew
when
McConaughey.
if you're playing a character and they're dead tired because they just worked a 72-hour shift, you stay up for 72 hours and become the 72-hour shift guy.
Yeah.
But if you haven't seen Phantom Thread, I think that was really good. I think Midnight in Paris, another awesome one, another Woody Allen film. I was trying to stomach Annie Hall, and I just couldn't. I couldn't sit through it. I got through about 10 minutes of Annie Hall the other day, and it wasn't good. And then like James Bond, like I watched 2 James Bond movies. over the
Okay,
weekend.
but
Those are amazing.
love story, like okay,
James Bond, and it's a great story.
You've got a girl.
What's not to like?
We're trying to help the single guys out here.
Oh, the single guys.
The single
Oh,
guys.
if you're a single dude,
they need to put on. They need to go. They need to like rent a movie.
Oh, then do the Tina Fey and Amy Poehler. With the one where they have the party. That one's super fun.
What?
It's a good date night movie.
Where they have the Tina
With John
Fey.
Cena.
I am totally.
Yeah, they have the party.
I
They have the party while their parents are away. Like they're back home, their parents are out, and they're back for like a high school reunion or something.
okay.
Yeah,
Okay,
that one was
all
really,
right.
really funny.
Well, as a woman, I'm like, I'm trying to think of I'm just trying to think of like what's a movie to where you're going to get a little you're going to start out on opposite ends of the couch, and then you're just kind of, you're going to get a little closer.
Phantom Thread, you'd start out together and you'd end up on the opposite ends of the couch. That's
Andrew, do you have any suggestions from greatest like romances?
Andrew's the movie dude.
There's the one, Tom Hanks has done several. I mean, there's Big, Sleepless in Seattle.
Big's fun.
Oh,
Sleepless in Seattle's fun.
Oh, and Affair to Remember.
Boy, we're old though. We're so
an
friggin' old.
And I like old movies, but an affair to remember is not my favorite.
You can't sit through it. It
No.
does.
She's in
It
a
does
wheelchair.
drag a little bit.
It's awful.
It drags a little bit.
She can't walk, dude.
But but that's not until the very end. Okay, Sleepless in Seattle. That is a fantastic.
That's pretty good.
Yeah,
But
it's
we're so old.
classic
Is there
Meg
anything
Ryan,
recent?
Tom Hanks. Well, there's for rom-com we have 2 go-to rom-coms.
What are the 2?
The Proposal with Ryan
yeah.
Reynolds and Sandra Bullock. Okay, not Andrew's favorite.
That's ridiculous.
And then Failure to Launch. That's like my
Also not my favorite.
Oh my gosh.
Well, throw something in the ring, Andrew.
What's the one with where he picks her up in the bar? Kate Hudson and Matthew McConaughey. How to Lose a Girl in 10 minutes.
10 dates or something.
10 days, yeah.
It's a play on how to win friends and how to win friends and
Is that what it is?
influence
Okay,
people. It's
yeah.
like how to lose friends and
How to
alien.
Lose
I
a
don't
Girl
know.
in 10 days.
How to lose a
yeah,
girl.
that one's fun.
Okay, fine.
What about
How about
the final holiday one where she goes Queen Latifah?
Last Holiday? That's
last
okay.
holiday.
How
yeah.
about 50 First Dates with Adam Sandler and Drew Barrymore? I know you're not an Adam Sandler fan.
I'm
You're
not an Adam
Oh my gosh,
Sandler
am I
fan.
just picking all of the wrong movies? Okay,
No.
so
This is
evidently,
comedy.
this episode
These
is
are the movies you shouldn't watch.
Evidently, this episode is the put it in the comments field because
Yeah.
I'm gonna have to say it again.
And
What's
name
your
the plant, for Christ's sake.
What's your favorite
poor
rom-com?
orchid.
Okay. You can't not deny that Forrest Gump was a romance between
a rom-com.
well, no,
It's a rom-com.
between Tom. I mean, they were
It
peas
is a
and
good
carrots.
romance, though.
They were peas and carrots.
They were peas and carrots.
he loved her and lived his
and
whole
she was a
life
psycho
for her.
drug addict nympho.
And it's got all the ups and the downs. That's a great. Okay, we can hopefully. I'm hoping we can end on the win with Forrest Gump and that have
How
it
about
be
something
a
that's done
great
in the last
movie.
25 years, though?
There's that one movie with the Australian lady that's I forgot what it's called, but it's like the tropey.
I like the one where she
rom-com.
gets a dress, where she goes to France and gets a dress. She was also in Phantom Thread, by the way. The one where she saves up her money to go to
Oh
a...
yeah, Miss Harris Goes to Paris.
Miss Harris Goes to Paris.
That's not a romance. Good. I mean, we could just go on a whole nother episode on just like great movies because
Yeah,
we
this is
love
great.
talking about
True
movies.
good, and we are not.
But romance movies, I don't know. I think that any movie that makes you feel. I'm trying to look through the ones that I have
Midnight
in
in Paris
the.
was great.
Did you feel like Midnight in Paris was a
watched that.
romance though?
Yeah, it is. It's a rom-com. It's a,
I mean, she's a you hate her the entire movie.
oh, she's such
and
a
then in
beast
the last
whole time.
2 minutes of the film, he meets the right one. So
Yeah,
I don't know that
But then
that's
they live happily ever after. But
yeah.
I like Woody Allen a lot personally.
yeah, Woody
Yeah.
Allen's crazy good
Yeah, he's
and
wicked sharp.
wicked smart.
Wicked
And,
sharp.
oh, Blue Jasmine's great. Another Woody Allen film with who's in Blue
So this is
Jasmine?
an interesting little experiment here. How many of you women are Woody Allen fans? Because not necessarily my go-to
Yeah, not
Woody
your cup of
Allen
tea.
is
director.
He's a quintessential.
I like him because he's not dumb and he writes constructive dialogue and good plots and
Yeah.
he's just a good writer and a good director. He does get a little too raunchy and secular at times, which makes it a little hard.
His stuff is not necessarily I'm definitely more of a Nancy Myers fan.
I don't
I
know
love
Nancy.
As good as it gets. It's amazing.
As good as it gets is fantastic. Didn't she also do Father? Did she do Father of the Bride?
Yeah.
Nancy
the
Myers
Father
did
of the
Father
Bride
of the
reboot.
Bride.
That movie's
Anything
great.
that's got that kind of Santa
Super
Barbara
stylized.
Napa Vineyard kind of a
I'm all
feel.
about that. What about Sideways?
with Paul
Paul
Giamatti?
Giamatti.
Yeah, that was good. I really liked
That was
the
Marsha Hudson. Or,
Bottle Shock. I really liked that with
Yeah.
Rickman and
Alan
Chris Pine.
Rickman,
And
yeah.
so,
he was
anyways,
good.
we have completely gone into a totally different episode,
Yeah,
I think,
is a
and called the
show about nothing.
the
so
show about
we're
films,
We hit the
but
bullseye today.
We love you and are so grateful for you tuning in.
Thanks for tuning in to
And
another
maybe in
episode
the next
of nothing.
episode, we'll just, maybe we could do an episode devoted to the types of maybe we can go through in the next couple of weeks different types of humanities, because that is about what this show is about, is bringing the humanities. Maybe we could go through some of our favorite books, some of our favorite movies, some of our favorite genres.
Sure.
Because we do have a vast, I do appreciate.
There's so many books and so many movies.
I do appreciate very much Woody Allen and what he's done. I mean, there's so many people that can be very avant-garde that are worth mentioning. There are people that go under the radar that are worth mentioning. There's some very subtle artists that you wouldn't necessarily consider, and then you watch them and you go, wow, I didn't even know that they were capable of doing that. So maybe in the next few weeks over the spring, we can continue to bring humanities into our field of vision. You've got a trip coming up to Las Vegas.
I do, playing a celebrity golf
in a
event.
celebrity golf event.
Yeah, that's a shout out for Michelle Trails Foundation that helps young African American.
She was on the show in a few episodes ago.
Athletes who are starting to get paid through the new changes in the NCAA. What do they do with all the money that they're making in college? Do they invest it? Do they know there's other things they can do besides blow it on cars and watches and stuff? And she gets into financial education and talk about assets and capital allocation and asset classes. And she's really involved. She's done super well for herself in professional outside sales and selling software for Oracle. She and I were peers, and she's gone on with Trillionaires Fund to make an impact in the youth of America who are finally starting to get paid for the work that they're doing on the football field, and other sports too, but mostly football. And it's a worthy cause. So I'm flying down there. She has graciously offered to host me and make it possible for me to participate. But I want to make sure and do a shout out for the Trillionaires Foundation. And you guys will have a link in the podcast below to find out more about Michelle Trail and the Trillionaires.
And go get a chance if you can. It's one of our first episodes, one of our first guest spots with Michelle
smart.
Trail
Just
about rest
smart.
and recovery. And we thank you guys. We love you. Thank you, Andrew, so much for editing this episode. I'm sure you've had your work cut out for you. Thank you, Jeff, for creating this forum for us to be able to continue to have this ongoing conversation with the projects we know as ourselves.
Crazy while the husbands and wives that listen to this while they do dishes are able to
laugh. Missed a spot.
And
you missed a spot.
Exactly.
Whoever's doing the dishes.
Whoever's doing the dishes, you missed a spot. But have a great afternoon, everybody, and know that we're thinking of you, and we appreciate you listening. Talk soon.
Bye.